What's up, everybody? Good morning. I wanted to make a quick video because I pay attention to a handful of YouTube channels that are faithfully and consistently covering issues that I am interested in, like Disney's fall from grace in terms of their putting out more and more identity politic based activism saturated content, whether it's Disney Star Wars, Marvel, now Indiana Jones 5 that just premiered at Cannes Film Festival to terrible reviews. What else? This Cleopatra documentary that came out by Jada Pinkett Smith, who is another one of these identity politicians. She's more concerned about the color of her skin and her sex than the content of her character. Anybody that knows about Will Smith and her relationship knows what I'm talking about. Or the quality of the content she produces. I'm a video gamer. I like to play video games. And I like to follow Critical Drinker and Geeks and Gamers and all those guys for their social commentary. And I am constantly faced with the recognition through different data points of the social movement in this country towards more and more radical progressive ideals, feminine ideals, if you will. And this video is about the difference between the masculine and the feminine. Now, let's be clear. These are distributions. So it's like saying there's difference between land and water. And then you might say, well, what about a marshland or a slough or something? It's like, yeah, there are places where there are gray areas, right? There are people that are, trans, and there are people that have psychological or personality distributions that are of the opposite sex. So there are very feminine men and there are very masculine women, but those are tiny proportional representations versus the massive bell curves. So you can absolutely talk about the difference between men and women and be right like 95% of the time, if not more. And increasingly in the United States, because we have an extraordinarily left centric mass media and popular culture, because the elite coastal populations of the country run the levers of power to a great degree. They have the executive and control over most of the country's media, certainly the educational system, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so what am I getting at? As a man, okay, women have the recognition from a young age that they have intrinsic value for good reason. A woman's capable of carrying a child. For that reason alone, the woman, in a way that the man is not, is the foundation of the future of the species. So girls grow up having deep-seated concepts of self-esteem and self-worth and value. They need just to show the world how good they are and be recognized for their intrinsic positive value on the earth, right? That's a very feminine quality. And, I have to temper myself because I know I'm going to piss people off to the degree to which this has legs and reaches people, but it's like, that's not my intention. I'm married. I have a daughter. I have very good relationships with the women in my life. I love women, but we can't use a feminine outlook to change the reality of the world. Men don't live that way. A man only gets respect or value in a world that we find ourselves in when they produce something. So the woman has a purpose. Now we're trying to change that by saying, oh, a career is more important. You can be a man as a woman. You can go and compete and, be physically dominant and be a boss bitch and all this. But the reality is the most profound journey a woman is going to take in her life, and not all women do this, and fair play, and I don't mean to paint a broad brush, but that's just the nature of my discussion right now, is have children. Okay, So the woman has the world come to her, and she shows her value by propagating the species. We don't work like that, guys. We have to prove ourselves. We have to fight and compete and create value to be respected and loved and appreciated. We have to provide. We have to compete. Okay, because we've had this feminization of the culture in the United States, women have gone into men's spaces, military, sports, but not extremely successfully. But you're seeing trans women go into women's sports. But I'm starting to read that that's going in the opposite direction finally, because a biological male who has had testosterone in their system their entire life and then decides to transition at like 21 is going to be physically dominant in whatever sport they're in, all other things being equal. Your woke ideology doesn't negate biology. Okay, so what I'm finding is in the university, in the mass media, in popular entertainment, although video games seem to be a last bastion because women just don't give a shit about video games. Men do, boys do, right? Is this whole thing of women need to be represented. There needs to be more representation. We need to be concerned with the sex and the color of their skin and their sexual orientation in all of these places, because that's what it's all about. It's all about power and dominance. The thing that women don't understand as they enter those spaces where competition takes place is that we as men rank ourselves. We compete fiercely, but half of the battle is in the honorable loss, is in the surrender under fair play. So what women don't understand is it's not win at all costs. It's compete to the best of one's ability and then may the best man win. But if you get a woman in a man's space and she's competing, if there's any way that she'll lose, it must be the patriarchal, tyranny. It must be unfair, right? That's why you get characters like Rey Skywalker. That's why you get characters like Captain Marvel. She's just better than everybody else. Why? Because she is. Get over it, right? And it's like, no, you guys don't get it. It's not that this is a female personification of, Captain America. Captain America had real struggles. Captain America had a pathos that brought you in and that you identified with. He was the picked on little weakling, but he had a good heart. He had a good constitution, but women don't see things like that. Women see who's at the top. And if they believe in this kind of woke ideology, there's no reason that they shouldn't be there. But what they don't understand is the man had to fight and compete and lose and lose and lose and accept those losses to get better. Those are the stories that we resonate with. Another example of this just insane worldview by these woke ideology possessed, power hungry narcissists that I'm seeing in popular culture is Cleopatra. Cleopatra is a very famous, extraordinarily meaningful person in Egyptian history. She was Mycenaean Greek. She was not Black. It's nothing against anything to do with being Black. I don't give, that's, who cares? The issue is there was a person in history that was partly the ruler of Egypt, and Jada Pinkett Smith, because she's an elite on the coast and she has an ideology, and to hell with anybody that's going to stand in her way, because she's a powerful Black woman, hear her roar, has appropriated Cleopatra, a real human, and used Cleopatra. Again, this is not fictional. Cleopatra was a woman who lived and had a story and did amazing things as a vessel for Jada Pinkett Smith's validation to tell stories about, powerful Black queens. Well, good for you, Jada, but you don't get to just choose somebody that wasn't Black and make them Black and then cry foul, cry racism when people have a problem with it. The entire country of Egypt is suing this documentary. Okay, so what's my point? Men and women are different. Women have a place. I'm not saying it's in the kitchen or anything like that. I'm saying it's as being women, as being mothers and people that raise the next generation, and people that are a functional harbor of the soft, the all-encompassing, the nurturing. That is a feminine quality. I'm not saying some men don't have feminine dispositions. I have a feminine disposition. I'm very high in openness. I'm high in neuroticism. I'm low in agreeable. I'm fairly midline in agreeableness, but I like people more than I like things. I'm not involved in STEM. You know, it's taken me years to figure out how to do YouTube. I'm involved in coaching and healthcare and so forth. So it's not a sexist thing to say that there are sex differences. It's a recognition of statistical relevance in terms of the distribution of the population. So women have this thing. Well, men are combative and competitive and aggressive and, you know, point A to point B. You know, if you want somebody to, you know, build something or fix something or fight, you want men. You don't want women, you know, and it's not a value judgment. It's just a recognition of differences in reality. And I think that we've just gone haywire from this kind of San Francisco elite liberal viewpoint. And these are luxury ideas. These are ideas that these just out of touch, rich, aristocratic coastal elites have that they don't have to suffer the consequences of. So if you equate men and women, you destroy the family, the unit that brings the two disparate forces in this country together. And, you know, you can push ideas like polyamory and disbanding the police and legalizing all drugs. If you live in, you know, a gated community in Santa Monica or in you know, Sand Hill, but you don't have that luxury if you live in Detroit or, you know, in an inner city. So anyway, that's all I've got for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you. Love you. And I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.